This video is brought to you by crime. Improve your finances today. If you've heard of anarchism but aren't super clear on what it is, you're in the right place. Instead of front-loading a description of anarchism, which after all you could find on Wikipedia, I'll explain it as I answer a question I've been pondering for years. Why aren't there more anarchists? I'm Chris, and welcome back to the channel that starts a fight at every dinner table. If you're listening to this, you might not know what anarchism is or why someone would be an anarchist. Well, why not? It's a whole school of philosophy with millions of adherents around the world. Why is it before I was 20, I had heard of 100 philosophers who were wrong about most things, and never heard anyone talk about anarchism until the advent of social media? Why didn't we learn about anarchism in school or in the media, even if just to provide an intellectual argument against it? Because anarchism is a threat to authority. Anarchists teach people to question authority, and you might have noticed authority doesn't like that. You know what I mean when I say authority, right? Not superior knowledge. Coercive power. The authority one assumes over others because of some arbitrary quality, like they were hired by the police force or elected by some interest group. There's a lot of authority to question. It's in school. It's in government, it's in the workplace, it's at the border, it's on the news. In these institutions, decisions are made for the benefit of the people at the top of the social hierarchy, the owners of corporations and governments alike. This is the authority that warrants so much scrutiny. But anyone can question authority. Kids do it all the time. Anarchists point out that humans have always organized as equals and should do so today, even though authority insists we can't. Anarchists teach you to see the harm in letting a minority of a given group make all the important decisions when everyone could be involved. We create alternatives to authoritarian structures. So we're not very popular with the folks who decide what you learn in school, what you see on TV, what news media cover and how they cover it. The people who have the most power to shape popular belief. They do their best to pretend we don't exist, and we remind the world that we do. Once you start questioning authority with the knowledge things don't have to be this way, you realize you're questioning everything. Your whole understanding of the world starts to change, and it doesn't stop until you stop questioning. We were taught to value words like democracy and constitution because those are the words authority uses to legitimize itself. When you stop believing in the worlds, you can wipe the ideology from your eyes and let them slowly adjust to the light. So people ask me, if there were no state, no police, and no laws, what would I do about crime? I say crime is a state construct. They think I'm trying to be funny or dodge the question, but I'm just shooting straight. The law is the tool of politicians, bureaucrats, police, and judges, and the owner class they work for. A stateless society doesn't have crime. The people decide right from wrong, how to prevent people from hurting each other, and what to do if someone violates the rules. I don't want to say what the right rules are because I'm just one guy, but I do have a suggestion that you can click on here. My interlocutors sometimes ask, but what would you do if someone stole your stuff? I ask, why do people steal? Why doesn't everyone have enough already? Who has all the stuff, and how do they get it? Why do we just accept that some people own billions of dollars of stuff while others have to steal to survive? Again, I'm not dodging the question, but making the point that everyone should have access to the resources they need. And it's largely because of money and property and the unequal relationships they spawn that we have most of the forms of crime people worry about. People aren't evil for doing what they can to survive under capitalism. Anarchists work toward a free society, without a ruling class owning all the resources and making all the decisions. But how many people have ever tried envisioning such a society? One reason there aren't more anarchists is not enough people have learned to value freedom, or even think it's possible. Everyone gets taught to value the word freedom, but then they're taught to believe in systems and support policies that destroy freedom. Freedom is good, except when it's against the law. Likewise, we have no shortage of heroes telling us to be kind to each other, take care of each other, work together to build a better world. So we do some charity work on the weekend and go back to destroying the environment and making the rich richer on Monday. Valuing words isn't the same as internalizing the concepts they represent. That's why the most educated in society, the intellectuals, always have reasons why redistribution of wealth to the poor is never a viable policy. And the only way to avoid disaster is to take more freedom away from more people. They like freedom in the abstract, but oppression in practice. Each anarchist vision might be different, but freedom is thought of expansively. It's not the freedom to do some things depending what an authority wrote down. It's freedom to do anything, at least anything that doesn't hurt others. It's freedom from any unnecessary artificial limitations like lack of money or permits or other legal documentation of your right to be free. Freedom means no poverty to crush us, no wars or borders to divide us, no kings or empires to rule us, no corporations or states to own and pollute the land that sustains us. It means people being themselves, associating in various combinations, solving their problems and disputes together without waiting for approval. Much like the effects of learning to question authority, when you learn to value freedom for everyone, your perspective changes. You start seeing oppression everywhere. It's finally clear to you because now you care. You want to know why people aren't free to do whatever it is, why people live in the streets, why people get tricked into fighting imperial wars, and why white supremacy and patriarchy persist in the 21st century. You're no longer satisfied with the excuses and challenge the divisive rhetoric. You stand in solidarity with all oppressed people. I've spent like 20 years studying how oppressive systems and ideologies work, but I don't think you need to do that to be an anarchist, just to internalize the values of freedom and solidarity. You don't have to know everything, just don't make decisions for other people. You don't need to know who's superior and who doesn't deserve, just make resources accessible to everyone. On this channel, I get people thinking about all the ways they're not free, because so many people that I know have never considered it before. They assume they're free in the ways we've all been told we are. I go into this topic more in this video. But if you don't want to watch that, think about what freedom you actually have. What are you free to do? And you can't say anything that costs money because you're not free to have something if it's owned by someone else. In fact, in a way, you're only free to the extent you have money. If you don't have money, you can't go anywhere or do anything. If you have enough money, you can do anything. You can kill people if you have billion-dollar weapons contracts. Or a badge. But if not, all you can legally do is make and spend money, which for most people means spending most of their waking lives doing things they don't particularly want to do. That's not freedom. That's working for permission to keep living. And actually, everybody hates this system, but not everybody realizes it. They might just think they hate their jobs. But is it just your job? Or is it you don't like being compelled to make money for people who have so much more than you? Shouldn't they be doing all the work? Or robots? Why don't you get to make any of the decisions? And why do they take your money away if you're 10 minutes late? Others hate specific aspects of the system, like the Supreme Court or the Republican Party. And hey, I hate them too, but I hate them because they're symptoms of the problem. They exist because systems for concentrating power exist. I've actually made a series on why freedom is good. The reasons might seem obvious to you, but to most people I've encountered, freedom is just a word used to win arguments and elections. When people learn to appreciate freedom, if they continue to try to understand why freedom is so limited for so many people, they might come to the conclusion that no oppressive hierarchical systems are necessary or redeemable, and that if we're serious about freedom, or for that matter, the environment, we should work toward ending all forms of oppression. But until we learn, or I would say relearn, how to value freedom for all, we might think of freedom as conditional, only for certain people, people of the right race, passport, or criminal record. Others think freedom is best achieved by working through the system, or by creating a new but still oppressive system. Anarchists look at thousands of years of history and see no reason to have faith in governments, elections, markets, NGOs, or superheroes to liberate people. People need to liberate themselves. That might be another reason people dismiss the idea of anarchy. They still have faith in existing systems. Anarchists don't. I'm not going to tell you to vote, join a political party, or run for office because however comfortable they are, these are not roads to freedom. They might lead in some minor way to slowing down the march of power, but to do so requires sucking huge amounts of time, energy, and money out of the community and legitimizing the rule of the state. Does the potential outcome justify the costs when there are a million other things we could be doing? I've studied the state. It exists to oppress. That is its purpose. Everything it does is for this purpose, whatever rhetoric it uses, whatever the intentions of the people working for it. You can mount a costly campaign to pressure it into adopting some version of a policy you like, but there's no way to transform the system to make it work for all the people. Instead, anarchists find ways of undermining the system and forging new relations. We want people to relate as equals, so we set up egalitarian decision-making structures. We want everyone to be able to eat, so we hand out food, even when it's illegal. We want everyone to have homes, so we squat unused buildings and organize tenant unions and build inclusive communities. We want to stop the flow of capital, so we occupy spaces, smash windows, and disrupt shareholder meetings. There are all kinds of things you can do with a few friends. Either way, if we want true liberation for everyone, we need to destroy the systems and ideas that oppress us. It's time to move beyond this world of war, slavery, and prisons. It's possible. We're doing it. If you ever find yourself agreeing, maybe because you spent some time on this channel, you can join us. We're everywhere. And you don't even have to pay.